With an improver, we've tried to take an all-sector approach. Despite that, in order to actually demonstrate the tools and the methodologies that we've developed in application, we've had to work within a number of different sectors. So the two principles, I would say, have been transportation and water infrastructure. Resilience is, I think it's an emerging discourse, it's an emerging discussion, and it reflects change in thinking about the way that we protect critical infrastructure and communities in particular to natural disasters when they may occur.
Our project focused mainly on air traffic management and healthcare. We have done a survey, worldwide survey, and identified topics that are relevant for resilience from the end user perspective, what they think that is needed. And then we built interventions related to these topics that the organization can use to assess their own resilience and how this can be improved.
We focus on three sectors. So we focus on the transport sector and road infrastructure, particularly in Germany. We focus on the water sector in Ireland, and we focus on the energy sector in Portugal. We were looking at, obviously trying to pick three critical infrastructures. Again, we were trying to engage in the proposal stage the end users of those infrastructures, and we felt that the transport, water and energy are so important, particularly for society and for the citizen. So it was great that we were able to get those three involved, and again at the different spatial scales, and also that their interaction, because energy, water and transport interact very well, so the interconnectedness and the cascading effects were very important to understand in the Resilience project.
In our case, we have focused on cities. Our assumption was that if we would like Europe to be resilient, we needed a backbone of resilient cities. So that's the metaphor we have used. We would like to contribute to create this backbone of resilient European cities.
Resolute is focused on a urban transport system, so it's focused on managing the variability of the transport infrastructures, trying to mitigate risks and known and unknown events. And the idea is to connect, to address all the actors that are affected by the transport, like energy, like waters, like all infrastructure that are in the city, but in particular the citizens that are the end user of the infrastructure.
What we have developed in the Resilience project is what we call the ResDSP. So it stands for the Resilience Decision Support Platform. And within that, we have, say, a number of tools, guidelines, and what we call e-learning opportunities. And it's all housed in a single platform. And we felt that this was a really good, say, one-stop shop approach where different CIs can have access to this platform from both a kind of a repository of information, from a guideline and a toolkit perspective, but also then from a learning perspective. And it's all housed in this platform.
Our guideline and the 5 tools they are included within this guideline contribute to the city resilience development process. In this process, there are many stakeholders involved, and we have defined a maturity model that goes through 5 stages. So each of the tools supports one cycle on these 5 stages. So we have the risk systemicity question, the maturity model, the policies tool, the communication tool, and each of them are used in a cycle within this process going through the 5 maturity stages: starting, moderate, advanced, robust, and vertebrated.
The guidelines was built to support end users in terms of decision makers to make a sort of self-assessment of the status of the infrastructures according to some criteria. The idea is to support them to reduce the variability, to dampen the variability, apply some suggestions and recommendations.
There have been a lot of work in risk management dealing with risk, understanding risk, but there is a need to understand unexpected situations, surprises, and cascade effects. So that's the scope of the project, to address this complexity that we have today and to propose practical interventions.
Within Improver, we've tried working with JRC actually to develop our resilience management guidelines in a way that they're compatible with the national risk assessment guidelines of the member states. The idea being that what we are proposing doesn't introduce anything that's drastically new to critical infrastructure operators and to local governments and then national governments, but rather that it builds on what's already done and implements resilience in their ongoing and current activities.
Any stakeholder involved in this city resilience development process, starting from the local governments and also including first responders, critical infrastructure operators, media, citizens, so any stakeholder involved in this city development process.
The real users of the tools are the CI owners and operators, but also the policy makers. So it's the policy makers at EU level, national level, and at local level. So it's the owners, operators, policymakers. So in all of that it comes down to the housing of the unit together in the decision makers. So decision makers around critical infrastructure can really use these tools, these guides, these learning outputs.
We've tried to make tools which are usable by a range of different people. So on one hand, we've got a tool which is effectively a self-assessment tool, a self-audit tool. It could be used by auditors as well to do a more in-depth, objective assessment of resilience. We've also got tools which are rather technically difficult to implement, and that would require the help of a consultant or some kind of an engineer or social scientist to implement those, depending on what the tools are.
We developed several tools that are mainly focused for decision operators, let's say, or decision makers with a specific customization. The scope is to connect the city data generated by Data Daily and to make some processing, data mining, and show the results through a dashboard. This dashboard is going to be installed in all the control rooms that are in the city, like fire brigades, like mobility departments, so forth, in order to put in connection all these control rooms for share information. Sharing information is at the core of the Resolute project.
The tools can be used mainly by managers or crisis management managers, also people involved in emergency response. But also frontline operators need to be involved. But it's targeting managers and policymakers that can be implement the guidelines in their operation, in their organizations.
Resolute is mainly focused on transport system in the urban context. This means that it's not considered a smart city as a whole, as a SMR project, and is not addressed at the multi-level scale. So there is a very focused scale, so at the urban context and in a specific infrastructure, even if several interdependencies are taken into account.
Within Improver, I think we've had a very strong focus on the critical infrastructure itself. We've had a very strong focus on the public and how public tolerances and public needs can be used to benchmark requirements for critical infrastructure. We've also, I think, as I mentioned, by trying to develop something that's compatible with the National Risk Assessment Guidelines, I think that's a different approach from anything that the other 4 projects have done as well. And I think that the potential for uptake of the project results, if that's successful and if that's taken forward, is quite good because of that.
Even though we have 5 different projects, these are different scope. So our project is dealing with critical infrastructures, other projects are dealing with more smart cities or other critical infrastructures. Also, we have a strong involvement with this Darwin community of practitioners, so they are co-creators on the solution. So there are different approaches of all the projects.
I'd say the main difference would be the scales that we looked at them, the spatial scales, so from national, regional and local. And obviously with different spatial scales you can have different, obviously user requirements, you can have different impacts, you can have different types of data inputs and outputs, and again there's different concerns, or there's different impacts and critical issues from national right down to local. So there can be a major national incident or impact right down to a small local incident or impact. So again, that spatial difference has, I'd say, one of the biggest differences between us and the other 4 projects.
I think that our main contribution is including this perspective from the cities. Other projects have been more focused on critical infrastructure, which are of course very relevant to city resilience, but in our case, our unit of analysis, our focus has been the city. That includes the critical infrastructure, but not the opposite, that in some other cases they have started from the critical infrastructure and they have gone to the local government.
The pilot implementations, which we've done one of the pilot implementations, and we're working on the other one at the moment. I think the most impactful part of the project to date certainly has been the work on the pilot implementations. So actually working with critical infrastructure operators, showing them how resilience can be applied, can be operationalized to their infrastructure and within or as part of their daily work. I think the potential impact of that, even in one sector, has been very good, very high.
What has been very good is that we have already early adopters of the project. So we have people in the community of practitioners and also in the consortia that they start using this guidelines. So this is very impactful, and also the community of practitioners have the potential to be multipliers of the work that we are doing.
It has to be the decision support platform. So again, it's going to be housed in this platform. It's what we call, it's going to have a single sign-on. So when you, as an operator of CI or an owner of CI, when you sign on to the platform, you get access in a one-stop shop space of, again, the tools, the guide, the repository of knowledge, and the e-learning space. And I suppose also what we've introduced is this concept of operations. So it's a ConOps approach. And again, that is moving away from, say, the pure technical issues with tools or application of tools, more to like an operations or behavioral understanding and input. So it's from the actual user of the tools. So it's understanding their behavioral ability, their understanding and knowledge of the CI. So bringing their knowledge base into it. So bringing the human with the technical.
Resolute had and is going to have in the future a relevant impact in at several levels. The first one was able to unlock the communication within the public administrations that usually works as a silos way. So departments that are not used to talk each other, now they are talking and sharing information. The second relevant impact is the system and the tools developed that are going to enhance the current capacity of the city to manage emergencies. So real-time information and new technologies are able to change the way how to behave and how to manage this situation. At the third level is to citizens. So the idea is to work at that level to enhance their awareness and their capacity to save themselves once the critical events occur, and in particular to support first responders during an emergency. So in this way, the objective is to optimize the allocation of the scarce resources that usually happens during an emergency in order to reduce the injuries or the fatalities.
Listening to our end users today, I would say that we have cooperated to break the silos among departments in the cities. It's quite usual that cities have different departments, one related to climate change, another one related to mobility, another one related to social affairs. So during this project we have created some cooperation opportunities among these departments, and I think that has been our main impact on them.
We We divided the contributions from the projects, and we contributed with the different understandings on resilience. So we said that there is not one solid view, but different views. And we also contributed to provide information of the tools and the methods that we have done to see how the methods address different contexts or different situations. And also in the part of policy and standardization, what we are working on that on our project with that.
Resolute contributed several parts similar to the other projects, in particular on tools, because our project was mainly focused on data and tools development. So that's why we have a big data platform, we have a dashboard, we have 2 mobile applications for evacuation. And so that's why the main contribution is on tools, on training, and in particular in the final part in which we create a sort of roadmap for integration, because our perspective and our aim is to design a comprehensive concept, a comprehensive view in which all the guidelines can be accommodated in a coherent way.
Our contribution has been directed to the inclusion of the city perspective on it. In addition to the perspective starting from critical infrastructure, we have added this perspective starting from cities, that I think it's also very relevant.
We contributed to all sectors more or less, but we took a lead on drafting the sections on policy recommendations, as well as the section on end-user-led solutions for critical infrastructure resilience.
We just happen to be the overall, say, coordinator of the white paper, and kind of like the main editors of the inputs we received from the other 4 projects. And we also contributed then to the introductory section and to the conclusion section, and brought it all then up to the publication standard that you see here today at the release of the launch of the white paper.
All 5 projects have done a tremendous work, and I think what's become clear over the discussions today, and also recent discussions between the 5 projects, is that they're not exclusive. So the different results, although they have applications in different sectors, they have different scopes and different backgrounds, different approaches to operationalizing resilience, they're not exclusive. I think the opportunity as well as the challenge going forward is developing a framework which enables critical infrastructure operators to use, possibly as part of policy recommendations, policy changes in different countries, to be able to use whichever of those project results better fits their way of working, better works with their community, and better achieves their goals.
I think the potential is for the end user to see the variety of methodologies, tools and training material, and to decide which one will suit to his or her organization, or how they can complement each other. That they are not separate blocks, but they are kind of complementary blocks that they can be integrated in their different organizations and civil protection. Yeah.
The best way to integrate is to create a common view in terms of taxonomies and a marketplace of tools in which each tool is connected to the needs that the end users have to manage. So clarifying and disambiguate the rules of these tools and the terminology and the indicators used. Only in this way we are able to provide a unique and comprehensive solution to the European Commission, because the real objectives of the outcome of this project is to bring up to the European Commission at the political level the right indication, the right insights to be distributed in the all European countries.
At this stage, we have many bricks that could be useful to build this resilient wall. So now we know more about each other, we know more about the tools developed in other projects, so we have all the ingredients we need to create a good receipt. So now we have to better understand how we can adapt the other projects developed tools also into our guideline. So I think I'm optimistic about this integration process.
The tools, the approaches, the methodologies that have been put forward today by the 5 projects, there's clear complementarity and synergy that can be developed among them. We have in the white paper again, we have put forward a roadmap, and we feel that what we've achieved in the 3 years of our 5 projects, we have, say, formulated a platform or a base situation for this roadmap to be rolled out and built on, and we feel it's a great opportunity for the European Commission to really push forward on this and really bring the whole resilience issue in critical infrastructure to the fore.